towards. Now, a lot of this exploration that I'm giving you is to form the basis for a discussion that I want to have about development, the direction of development in this new era of oil and gas in Guyana, so that we can actually get a feel for an understanding of what is happening here in Guyana. So I introduced yesterday, or in the last couple of videos, the topic of the BRICS community countries, Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, that grouping, still conducting their summit, and there are about 40 other countries that are interested in joining the BRICS. I don't think Guyana is on that list yet, but I mentioned in the previous video that Guyana still stores its sovereign wealth fund in New York at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And the BRICS, the whole idea behind it is to provide an alternative trading currency for countries that run afoul of the American foreign policy, where they fall under sanctions by the US because of some disagreement, and then get shut out of the global trading system, which uses US dollars, and therefore end up in economic straits. Eventually you have a refugee crisis. So you have about 80 countries right now being sanctioned by the US, and hence a global refugee crisis, because when the economy collapses, such as the Brazilian economy, which collapsed mainly because of sanctions. There are a lot of propagandists who want to say Venezuelan economy collapsed because it's socialist or because of mismanagement. No, it collapsed because they're being sanctioned by the US. They couldn't trade, couldn't sell their oil and so on. And that resulted in a refugee crisis in which millions of Venezuelans flee from Venezuela into other countries in South America, including Guyana. And so in that context in which the BRICS, it is that context in which the BRICS countries have stepped in to address this hole, this gaping hole in the trading system, the world trading system, that results in destabilizing almost half of the globe's economies, and where you have now hundreds and hundreds of refugees dying in the Mediterranean Sea as they make their journey to Europe, and then receiving all kinds of mistreatment and maltreatment when they're not in their own country. So in that context, Guyana has to be ready and prepared to address and to live in this changing global society, and we can't really afford not to be in BRICS. But given the state of the economy here in Guyana, the fact that it's a new phase of growth, and a delicate tight wire has to be walked between the superpowers, Russia and China, for example, both invest in Guyana's oil and gas industry. So Guyana can't really take sides, can't side with the USA or China or Russia. There's a lot of Chinese investment in Guyana driving a lot of this economic growth, and so is also the investment of ExxonMobil in the extractive industry. So because of that, Guyana has to be very careful how it treads in this complex global environment, ecosystem. But this is what we're talking about. We're talking about a country that is growing, but it's still unsophisticated even in the way houses are constructed. Because while these are large houses, impressive, for example, in size and perhaps style, they're not really smart homes. They're not really secured in terms of resources, water and sewage and garbage disposal, electricity, internet. All those things are still in the fledgling and unsophisticated state in Guyana. And what this gives you is a visual context, right, for what the discussion is that I'm trying to have. That while we are aspiring to be a sophisticated world, part of the sophisticated world, for first class nation in terms of amenities and resources, and we have the money to do that, it's a delicate walk to get there, because we can't really afford to take sides. For example, at some point American foreign policy changes, Guyana's natural resource fund sits in the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. They can freeze, you know, our sovereign wealth fund for whatever reason. It doesn't have to make sense. They just have the power to do it, and they will, as they've done in the past for places like Venezuela and Iraq and Iran and Afghanistan and so on. So given that kind of uncertainty in dealing with Americans, you really have to create contingency plans, and the BRICS Association offers such a contingency, like a backup, a way to diversify your development portfolio, investment portfolio, and so on. So that's the context in which I'm showing you these videos, so that I can have an intelligent discussion about how Guyana participates and how development in Guyana compares to what is happening elsewhere around the world, in places like Malaysia and Singapore, Thailand, and some of the emerging countries, emerging economies in Africa and the Caribbean. But that's a discussion for the future. If you want to see more content like this, click like and subscribe. Share this video with friends and family around the world, that people know what's happening here in Providence, in one of the fastest growing countries, Guyana. Remember to leave your comments below. Let me know what you think about development in this neck of the woods. If you've lived here or are living here, give me some more information you think you can. Share with us what your understanding of Guyana's development path is at this point. Later!